All right, everyone, welcome back to the BGE Cloud. It's Friday, so you know what that means. It's another episode of The Plus in Pageantry. I am so honored to have the one, the only Miss Kerry Damiano with us today. She is Ms. World Traveler, and we're going to talk about what that is and how you can support her in this journey because she is the one. Okay, Ms. World Traveler. She is a fashion icon, a former Miss Idaho USA, and interview
Back
coach.
before you were born.
Just barely. And she is a fashionista, and she is absolutely living her best life. And I'm so excited. Thank you for joining us, Miss Carrie.
Oh, well, thank you. Appreciate it. Excited to be here and, just have a nice conversation.
Yes, I'm so excited. We chatted a few days ago and just kind of talked about Ms. World Traveler, and I want to dive head in. What is Ms. World Traveler?
Well, it's a number of different things. Yes, it's a title, and I wear a banner that says Ms. World Traveler, which I forgot to put on. Isn't that silly? I had it out and I forgot to put it on. But anyway, it's kind of an ode to my 40 plus years in the pageant industry. So that was just kind of where do I start? And it's a bit of a marketing shtick. It's not a pageant, but it's an ode to my pageant background. So, when I walk around with the banner on, people stop, they ask questions. They might even search and check it out when they see it. So it's something that draws some attention, and that's really what we're trying to do. But it's also a web series and a blog about travel and shopping. And basically, our mission is to inspire women to travel and then shop local. So on our web series, we feature women designers, artists, entrepreneurs, just local businesses that if people went to that place, that's where they should go. And then they feel like they know somebody. I think stories are
Yes,
what attract people, right?
absolutely.
They want to know the story behind things. And so that's been a really fun part of this journey for me is just meeting amazing people and hearing their stories.
Oh my gosh. Well, we share that. That's a lot of why I have this platform. I've come across some amazing people in my slightly shorter pageant journey, my 10, 11 years in the pageant world. And I've come across so many people. And a lot of times, if you don't make top five, you don't get to answer that question. So people don't get a peek into your mind. So I
Yes.
figured I put this together and give women the opportunity to just tell their stories. So I'm
Right.
so very happy for
I'm
this.
sure you've heard some very interesting stories.
I have. I'm very lucky. I just actually had a conversation with Maureen a few days ago on this
Okay.
platform, so I'm so excited to share that. And also, I had Chris Montgomery on, so I got his perspective as a
Yes.
coach. And
Wonderful.
I've had a little bit of everyone, but something that you said that
Mhm.
sticks out to me is that you have
Mhm.
a toe in the pageant world, a foot in the pageant world for 40 plus years. Is that right?
That's right. I started in college, so I was kind of late to the party, but it was a calling from God because I had never been, I mean, I was kind of a girly girl, but I was very athletic. I was very into my studies. And so when I sort of felt this nudge to look into pageantry, it was like, are you sure? Is that really what I'm supposed to be doing?
Right,
And I
right.
just prayed about it. And, I said to God, bring somebody into my life that knows something about it. Keep in mind, this was long before the days of email and internet and all of that. And I just had no idea how to even go about figuring out who to call, what to do. And so it turned out that just in a very chance way, I met a woman who was involved in pageantry. And so she kind of led me, here's who you talk to, that kind of thing. She got me going. So I kind of went, digging in my heels. And then once I got involved, I got addicted like a lot of people and just fell in love and knew it was where I was supposed to be.
Yeah, I've shared here before. I thought I was going to be a one and done. Uh,
Yeah.
I used to watch pageants with my grandmother when I was little, and we never saw anybody who looked like us on stage, and not just nationality or race wise. It was body type kind of thing. We didn't see curvy women on stage, and so I kind of took up that mantle once I graduated from high school. So I too was somewhat late to the shindig, but I'm so happy that pageantry found me and that I've been able to have so many great experiences. And I feel that pageants are changing in such a major way. Are there any
Yes.
changes that have happened recently in pageantry that you're really excited about, or any that just kind of we could have done without?
Well, the whole industry has changed course a little bit just over even the last year. And, you know, I love the traditional parts of it, and I love that we're evolving. So, uh, some maybe we could do without, but the nice thing is, Amber, and I think you can agree with this, there's something for everybody.
Yes.
So you don't have to fit into a particular mold. You have to be a certain height, certain weight, certain color, all of these different things. There's something for everyone. And that's part of the beauty, I think, of pageantry, that it's very widely, it casts a wide net. So that if you want to be involved, you can't be.
Now, one thing about pageant women that I've grown to love and appreciate is that we all wear so many different hats. So, not only have you had your life in the pageant world, but you've had a life outside of pageantry. So, 40 years, great in the pageant world. We've been a title holder, and if I'm not mistaken, coach, and
Yes.
an icon in your own right outside of pageantry. And
Mhm.
even before Miss World Traveler, how would you occupy your time?
Oh my. Well, I've been coaching for over 20 years now, so that's part of it. I had my own television show for a while. I had my own fashion line. Before I got into my own business, which was in 2000, I was the president and CEO of two companies in two different states, and I commuted between the two. So, because I'm old, I've had a lot of things. I've done a lot of things, but there's no time like the present, right? This is an exciting time for me. This Ms. World Traveler is new. We've just been at it about a year and a half, and we're really just starting to see the growth because your first year you're getting settled. You're
Yeah.
figuring it out. Who are we going to be? What is the brand going to be? And so, what I see from here on out is very exciting. And so, there's no time like the present. Just to be excited about life.
That's amazing. And I don't want anybody to get hung up on what they've done. I love Miss Carrie because she's so looking forward and just has so many things going for her right now today. So Carrie, so we have
Oh, I sense an interesting question coming.
we have so many people in common. We kind of have rolled in the same realm. And I have to tell you, one thing that is so iconic about you is your hair. Now,
Okay.
to know
You want the
Carrie,
story behind it?
I want the story behind your iconic hair.
Well, let me go back to and dress just that it's puffy because I got through the 90s with puffy hair when everything went,
Mm.
after the 80s when huge hair was in. Uh, in the 90s, everything went super, super straight and very natural looking. And I still had puffy hair. And so I'm going to address that first and then I'll address the color. Um, so the reason why I have puffy hair not only is because it's curly, but because my face is actually quite small, too small for my height and my bone structure. So if I don't have a little puffiness in my hair, I look like a pinhead and it's quite unattractive. So I always have I have fluffy hair. And no, I'm not originally from Texas, in case anyone was wondering.
No, Texas, Tennessee, none of those.
Right? The big hair capitals of the
Right,
world,
the big
right?
hair capitals.
And for going natural, I colored for close to 20 years, and I lost my dad about 9 years ago. and I was very close with him. And so during the time that I was grieving for him, I thought it was a good idea to grieve the loss of my black hair at the same time. So it was a year of torture in terms of trying to grow it out and then cutting it off and growing it out and cutting, trying to get to natural. But because I was sort of grieving my dad at the same time, it it kind of all worked together that there was some peace in it too. So here I am, all natural.
And beautiful, of course. Now,
Yeah.
you touched briefly about the loss of your father. Grief is something that, you know, isn't always pretty. And when we're in this realm, in this beauty world, the idea is that we always have it together. How was it that you were still able to, be who you are to the public whilst
Mhm.
dealing with the loss of your father?
The joy of the Lord, no question about it. My dad was a Christian, and so I have total peace that he is at home with the Lord. And while we feel the pain of his absence, we celebrate that he has no more pain, he has no more suffering. He suffered for 18 months with uh, lymphoma and kind of had to waste away. And so that we know he's at home with the Lord and that there's joy in that. And that each one of us has, according to scripture, a number of days on the earth we get. God wrote that. It's in Psalm 139 that we have a number of days for the foundation of the world that was set for us. And so that's the number of days, period. That's what you get. So
Right.
you can't be upset like, oh, if you had just had more chemo, or if you had just, whatever. That's the number of days that you get. And so there's peace. There's peace in that. And so, well, it was hard and I still miss him. And we actually just passed his anniversary 9 days ago. And we just had his birthday yesterday. Um, so it still is hard, but there's a joy that is a companion with that.
That's beautiful. And it's just yet another way that people out there need to know and see that even though when we choose to live our life in the public, that doesn't mean that things just stop happening to and for and around us. And it's
Right.
just really there's a realness in that. And that's kind of what I want our audience to hear us talk about, is just kind of like the real behind what drives us. And I love that a lot of what drives you is faith based.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, have you been a Christian all your life?
Yes, I accepted the Lord at 8 years old. So I feel very fortunate that I grew up in a Christian household and that because I got saved early, I had the guide to help me in making decisions. Teenage years are tough, college years are tough, and sometimes poor that's a good time to be making poor decisions.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have to go through a lot of that. So I feel very blessed. And the longer you walk with God, the more you appreciate and are thankful for his presence, thankful for the tests,
Amen.
the tribulations, the things that come along because they hone you, they build character, they increase your faith and your trust. And, we're all on the journey, and that's what the journey is.
Yes, amen. So I'm so excited just to kind of hear a little bit more about your Ms. World Traveler program. Where
Yeah.
is your favorite place that you visited so far?
Oh, that is a tough one. That's a very tough one.
Okay,
It's like
top three,
asking a
top
mother which
three,
is her favorite child, right?
top three, top three, top three.
I have different favorites for different reasons. No, we haven't covered Egypt on Ms. World Traveler yet, but I have been there. I've been to over 130 countries, so I have lots of travel stories. But I would say Egypt was my favorite for shock value. It was just everything was very shocking there. The heat was shocking. The lack of sanitation was shocking, so that there were lots of flies. In fact, like when we would sit outside to eat, if you had a soda can open, there were so many flies that it would turn black with flies, and you had to going like
Right.
this to try and keep the flies off of your soda can. So it was just, very shocking. But I would say my favorite for friendliness of the people was Australia and New Zealand. And we actually just covered New Zealand. We just got back maybe 2 weeks ago.
Now,
So
can we watch your vlog on your website, or is this a YouTube channel?
it's a YouTube channel. It's basically youtube.com/Ms. World Traveler. So we have over a year's worth now of videos, and we release one a week. And yeah, so there's lots of content for people to go look. I try and keep it around 10 minutes, a bit less, some a little bit more, but knowing people are busy and um, you know, it's just 10 minutes of your time. You can go watch it.
Yeah, I mean, what's 10 minutes? You can do that while you're trying to get your eyelashes on in the morning.
So true.
You know? So the 10 minutes, we can all do that. Well, I'll
Yeah.
definitely make sure that we the podcast are following, and we can take part in this adventure with you, because I
Yeah.
honestly I'm terrified to travel alone. Um
You know what, Amber? That is what I hear from most women. And our mission is to inspire women to travel. So, I hear that when I say I'm going somewhere, they say, "Oh, you're going by yourself. Aren't you afraid?" So getting rid of that fear and addressing what it is that causes that. Is it that you don't know where you're going and what you're going to do? Is it you don't have enough money to go? Is it you don't are afraid of being alone? What is it that causes that fear? And figure out how to address that, because many women, especially, travel alone and love it. And you can really get addicted to going by yourself when you don't have to worry about anybody else, what they want to do. You just do what you want to do. It's really quite wonderful.
Oh my God, I'm jealous, because for me, I think the biggest thing about traveling alone that scares me is I have to acknowledge the good Lord blessed me with a great many things, so many great, wonderful things, but He was a little skimpy on the sense of direction, because
Ah.
I get lost going places I've been before, Carrie, and it's so embarrassing. Like, I have to give myself enough time when I'm going someplace new. I have to give myself enough time to get lost, and then just
Uh-huh.
kind of work backwards and find my way where I'm going. And I
But you know what? Technology is so good now with on your phone being able, they'll tell you where to go. Go 6 steps and then turn left. So no reason to be afraid of that anymore.
Yeah, okay. I have to trust the tools given to me, because a few years ago, I can't remember, we had a Washington event. I was preparing to compete for Miss Washington USA, and I agreed to go. I confirmed. I was like, "Oh yeah, I'll go. Like, no big deal." And then Maureen sent me an email or a text and was like, "Hey, when are you leaving for this event?" And I was like, "Oh, around 3 tomorrow." She was like, "Amber, you have to go through the pass." And I was like, I was like, "Huh?" Like, I just assumed it was close. So,
Mm.
yeah, like, my distance, it doesn't quite click for me. So I need moral support when I travel. And
Uh-huh.
this year I did a lot of traveling, all tied to the pageant, and where I was competing this year. So that was my first time in Las Vegas competing at USOA this year. I'd never
Great.
been. But then I ended up going back to Nevada 2 more times after that, because I choreographed Miss Nevada USA, and then I went to Miss USA in Reno. So,
Uh-huh.
but I
It
think,
gets easier, doesn't it? The more that you do it.
yeah, I went solo to choreograph, and then I went solo to Miss USA. I think I did went Florida, Texas this year as well. So I've
Good for you.
spent my fair share of time in the plane, but I want to check more international boxes
Yes.
next year. Another thing that scares me is the language. Like, I don't want to offend anybody, or I don't know. It's just
Right.
scary, I guess.
Well, again, the nice thing is on your phone, you can use a translation app.
Which one do you use or recommend?
I think it's called Translate.
Oh,
But
okay.
keep in mind, I've been doing it for a long time, and I find, one, that people are very helpful. If you just try and make an effort, you can kind of with signs, go down here, go like, you can make yourself known. And I can read some languages better than I can speak. I really don't speak anything fluently other than, well, pretend I speak English fluently. But, I mean, once you see the root words, you can kind of tell where things are. Um, and just probably the last 10 years, as we have become a much more global economy and so much content is available at your fingertips online, more people speak English. And so it's just plain easier. It's easier now than ever to get around. So no reason to let that be something you're fearful of.
Like, I am so inspired. Like, I definitely, there's a couple places I've been wanting to go like my whole life. I want to go to
Mhm.
Japan
Like,
really bad. Oh, so Japan, I want to go to Angola,
okay,
and I want to, of course, go to South Africa and Nigeria. I
okay.
want to go to Hong Kong and, of course,
Excellent.
Paris, and just kind
Uh-huh.
of check a few places off my box. But Japan is the big one. I've wanted to go to Japan since I was a little girl. My favorite anime is Sailor Moon, and I
Uh-huh.
thought when I was little that if I made it to Japan, Sailor Moon would make me like an honorary Sailor Scout, and I'd be the first Black Sailor Scout, and it would be great. We'd just be bridging a gap, and it would be
Uh-huh.
glorious. And
Well, if I could give you some advice on that, Japan is a little bit harder to get around. There's not a lot of signs in English, and not quite as many people speak English as you would think. So, what I would suggest is maybe going someplace like London, Australia, someplace where they speak English or English is more widely spoken, like Amsterdam or a place like that, even in Paris, to get your feet wet and see how you do. You'll do better than you think that you will. That will boost your confidence. And then you'll be ready to tackle a little bit more difficult one like Japan.
so it's like anything, you just need to build your confidence. And
That's
of
right.
course, there is a little bit of research that goes into any travel that you do,
Yes.
whether it's in the States or international. But
Mhm.
it just takes a little razzle dazzle. You just have to be confident in who you are and what you're there to do.
That's right. That's right.
Beautiful.
Well, the other thing about Japan is because their writing is symbols,
Hmm.
you can't read signs. Like if you go really any other place that has letters, even if you can't read the word, you can recognize a B or a D or an S. So you can sort of match up. Okay, yeah, that's the same word. That's what I'm looking for, even if you can't say it. But it's very hard when it's symbols. Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Yeah. So characters kind of throw a monkey wrench in trying to
Yes.
translate things. I
Yes.
yes, all I can say in Japanese is good morning, and I can count. I can count in
Oh,
Japanese. Um,
fantastic.
I think I had a
Is it
second.
good morning, Ohio gozaimasu?
Ohio gozaimasu.
That's one of the few words I know.
Yes. I'm like, I want to learn French. And my boyfriend is Haitian, so he speaks some French as well. So
Okay.
I listen to him a lot, when he talks to his
Let your
family
ear
sometimes
pick it up.
and lets my ear pick it up. Yeah, I took French in high school, but I haven't used it since. So I always have like an ear for it. Like I can pick it up, and if I listen to something a couple times, I can figure it out. But I want to get better to where I can actually respond in French.
Well, and a lot of places speak French. So, some countries in Africa, um,
Caribbean.
eh, yes, so that would be a good one to get up.
Yeah, I that's why I took it in high school because I wanted to travel to Africa and I wanted to spend more time exploring my roots. Um, because
Right?
I did like an ancestry thing, maybe
Uh-huh.
2 years ago. Um, that led me to Nigeria as being the core base of my genetic makeup. And I
Okay.
want to hone in on that. They have an AfricanAncestry.com, and that's supposed to narrow your DNA even further down to the people. So
Wow.
I want to do that and just kind of really hone in and just kind of figure out, where my ancestry takes me. So it sounds like an adventure just to know and to have that question answered.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And very exciting, right? To
Oh
know
yeah.
something for a little further back than what your, parents, grandparents couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I was actually really fortunate, Carrie. My great grandmother on my mom's side lived to be 104 years old. Yeah, and was in her right mind up until the time she passed. So
Wow.
very, very fortunate to have, be able to recollect some of her stories and the things that she went
Mhm.
through. And
Mhm.
she lived in Texas almost all her life. So just the things she survived was really inspiring. And some of her
Mm.
habits line up with some different cultures that I'm aware of in Africa. And it's exciting. It's exciting to put those pieces together and just kind of
Yes.
explore a little bit more of myself. Does anything in your
Nice.
travels kind of connect you to your ancestry?
Well, yes, actually, we do have a big trip coming. When I say a big trip, we're going to spend 4 weeks in Rome.
Oh, wow.
And my dad was Italian. And so when I hear the Italian language, I don't actually speak it, but it's like it's in my blood.
Right.
It's there's a melody to it. Like if you wanted to say my last name in American, we would say Damiano, whereas in Italian you say Damiano. You're
There's
gonna
emotion, there's feeling.
yeah, there's emotion and there's the inflection is different, and it just like sits. It sits well in my bones. And so I'm really looking forward to being able to spend 4 weeks there and maybe picking up more of it and getting so I can understand a little bit more. So yeah,
Yeah, that's
exciting.
super exciting. Like just to kind of take that trip kind of home. Like I know my family's from Texas, so anytime I go to Texas, I feel at home.
Do
Uh
you? Do you
yes.
start picking up a little bit of the drawl?
Yes, but when I moved here, I had to take a little bit of speech therapy because I grew up barefoot and happy, I like to say. So I grew up in the
Uh-huh.
country, so I had a twang and a draw. Like they were fighting each other almost. And my teacher told my mom, was kind of like, we love having Amber in class. She's such a joy to be around, but sometimes we can't understand her. Uh, so I had to learn to slow down and
Uh-huh.
enunciate and just kind of
Can
like,
you give us a little example? Maybe a couple of words.
I'll have to record when I'm actually in Texas because something about crossing the border does it for me every single time.
It just comes back, doesn't
It
it?
just comes back, and especially with like if I'm surrounded by family, because
Mm.
do you code switch at all, Carrie?
Do I code switch?
Are you familiar with code switching?
Mm-mm.
So a lot of people of color code switch. So it's kind of like throwing your customer service voice all day long. And then when
Oh,
you're at home, you kind of talk how you talk. That's how I
uh-huh.
feel when I go to Texas. I can stop
Uh,
code switching and I can talk how I talk. So it's
oh, too
it's
funny.
it's so funny. But yeah. But during the day, like I still say a lot of y'all's, a whole bunch of y'all's. That's always gonna be, I say pocketbook instead of purse, you know.
Oh, okay.
Um, and I work in I work in property management. It's my day job. So when I was originally learning how to tour apartments, I did my first tour, and my manager went with me, and she was also from Texas. So she would say, "Oh no, that's not an eye, that's a burner." That was the big one for me. Because I'd be like, "Oh yes, the eye of the stove is like this and that and da da da." And people would be like, "The eye?
Oh,
The eye? What is that?" And my boss was like, the burner on the
that's
stove.
so funny.
They're little things that I still say, and
Mhm.
my boyfriend catches me sometimes. Like if I say something that's just overtly country, he'd be like, "Oh, my ancestral home in Texas, we called it the home house." So he'd be like,
Uh,
"Oh, did you learn that at the home house?" In fact, I did. Thanks.
you keep those things with you. They're part of who you are, and It's not surprising when they slip out once in a while.
Yes, yes. I think I had one. I think I had one in a pageant interview once, but in my defense, we were in Texas, so it was a little bit harder to check. And the judge was from Texas too, and she stopped. She was like, "Are you from here?" And I was like, "Yes, actually, yes, I am."
You know, actually, a number of years ago, I lived in London for almost 2 years, and I picked up an English accent while I was there. And every once in a while, when I hear British person speaking, I revert back to it. It's kind of a weird thing. I don't even know that I'm doing it. It's just like somebody talked to me in it, so I talk to them in it, which is probably what happens to you with your
Yeah,
Texas drawl. They're
yeah,
talking to you in it, and so you talk back to them the same way.
absolutely. It's the exact same way, and I love it. And I'm sad that I can't call on my twang when I want to. I wish I could. But let's see, where were we? Sorry, we got off track there a little bit,
We did.
but let's talk beauty secrets. Do you have a favorite product, whether it be skincare or makeup, that you'd like to share with us?
Ooh. I'm about the hairspray. Uh, yeah, hairspray. I don't leave home without it.
Hmm.
Well, it's with a few other things. I didn't know you were gonna ask that, or I would have, like, little things, I could hold up. But for hairspray, I like it's from Sally Beauty. It's called Ion. It's a very, uh, stiff hairspray. And the reason I went to that, Amber, I think you'll probably appreciate this, is years ago, when I was starting out in business, I saw a program, one of those kind of science programs that talked about the male and female and how they're drawn to each other and such. And was talking about how when a woman touches her hair, it's an unconscious signal to a male that she's interested.
Hmm.
And so I never wanted to be one of those women sitting in a business meeting, twirling my hair and flipping it back and, playing with it because I wanted to be taken seriously
Right.
as professional. And so that's kind of when I started using hairspray to keep my hands out of my hair. And now, of course, can't live without it. But that was how it got started.
We like what we like, okay? And it's funny that
Right?
the things that we do as women, like to be conscious, like, okay, I want to make sure that nobody knows that like nobody thinks that I'm flirting with them. I'm here to be taken seriously. So I'm
Yes.
deliberately moving with the purpose by changing this part of my routine. So kudos to you.
Right. Right.
I
Well, and this is actually a good experiment because I did this after I saw that program. I started watching, like when I went to a restaurant or, went someplace and you could always tell when a couple was on a date because the woman was, her hair was just going like this. He said, I just didn't want that to be my professional persona. So
right.
nothing wrong with that. It's just I wanted to, again, be taken serious.
One thing that I do, because I'm on the younger end of the spectrum in my career, is I hardly wear any makeup when I go to work.
Mhm. Okay.
I'm obviously very put together, but I don't, I'm not going to do a full cut crease, big wing liner, anything like that.
Right.
I
Full
do enough.
glam.
Yeah. It's just like big red, I'm not going to do that for work.
Ah,
Um, but I do enough to feel confident and powerful, and I
yes.
just want to make sure I'm
And you
being
paid
taken
attention
seriously.
to the details. You look all put together.
Yes, always. And so my team makes fun of me because like I'll show them my pageant pictures. I'll be like, "Look, guys, this, and this," and then I'll dress everybody else in the office. I'll be like, "Hey," one of my leasing specialists, we've been friends since middle school, so I'm harder on her than anybody else. I'm like, "Girl, if you don't take those socks off, why are you wearing socks with that?" Like, just little things like that. Like,
Speaking of fashion, Amber, you were going to do a expose
a
is the wrong
recap
word,
for
but
Global Beauty
for
Awards.
Global Beauty Awards and some of the outfits worn. And I never
Yes.
saw what happened to that. Did that project sort of die out, or is it still coming as we lead up to the Global Beauty Awards? Where is it?
It's still coming. So
Okay.
I have the rest of this week off, so I'm filming content, and I think
Great.
it's going to be great to kind of drum up some excitement for the upcoming awards. But yes,
Yeah.
I still have your write up and a few others, and I'm excited to kind of share that. I'm changing my recording setup in the midst of this
Okay.
because my boyfriend just moved in, so we're shifting some things around, but he's the muscle I needed in order to make my vision come to life anyway. So
Okay.
it works out for everyone. So yes, it's on the way.
Well, for those who don't know, explain what you're going to be doing.
Oh, I love how you just flipped this, Carrie. So I am
You
doing.
do know that I'm a judge and I interview girls, so I can't help it.
I'm prepared. I'm prepared. So I am a part of the production team for the Global Beauty Awards, which is coming very soon, you guys. If you have not gotten your tickets, you do need to visit the Global Beauty Awards website, and you can follow the Global Beauty Awards on Instagram and Facebook. But it's a passion project from friend of the podcast, Maureen Francesco, and it is the Grammys, the Emmys of the pageant world. So we're honoring designers, we're honoring coaches, contestants, and everyone in between. And last year, we asked a few of the attendees to provide their mock up, their write up on what they wore. So one thing about this is a formal event. So the fashions were in effect. Everyone came to play. It was beautiful. I was stunned by a lot of what comes through, often stunned and left speechless by what Miss Carrie wears. Just like my mom is like, she just can't even function until she sees you. She's like, "Where's Carrie?" And then I was like, "Look around. Okay, you will find her." Uh, so we're just what I'm going to be doing is just recapping the fashions and just getting folks excited and giving people inspiration on how they should come dressed to the Global Beauty Awards this year.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Well, I'm really looking forward to it. And you're right. I think it will help people understand because we do have new people that come every year, and it helps them so that they feel like, how do I fit in? What is everybody else doing? And so that gives them just a visual of there's levels of dressiness. You can dress up for a wedding, you can dress up for church, but dressing up for the Global Beauty Awards is a whole nother level. And so I think that will be helpful to people to have that information.
I agree, and I'm so excited because I got some really cool photos back when that request went out, and I hate to have just been sitting on it this whole time. So I'm excited to get that project off the ground. So yay! But I went to school for fashion design, so I definitely have a passion for fashion. I love clothes. I especially love evening gowns.
Yeah.
That's my next big venture. I'm planning on opening a prom and pageant store here in Washington.
Really? I don't
Yes.
think I knew that, Amber. Congratulations. That's wonderful. I
Thank
love the
you.
vision.
Thank you. It's bigger than me and it's intimidating, but I'm so excited to give it my all and pursue it. Because I want eventually Henry's Cloud Nine. I want Liz Everett
Yes.
Glam. Like I just want the big
Uh-huh.
prom and pageant store. I want space for
Love it.
walk-in rehearsal that coaches can rent out, and I
Mm,
want a content room. So I want a really large space where we can all kind of collaborate. And
fantastic.
I think it's needed, especially with the pageant
Mhm.
community growing the way that it is. Um,
Yes.
up here in the Pacific Northwest, we are not Texas, Tennessee, Louisiana, New York yet, but when our girls come out, they need the same resources as everybody
Right.
else. And I think that's kind of what hinders
Mm,
our girls sometimes is that they're always having to fly cross country
true.
to, yeah, and it's
Mhm.
a huge expense, and we need something here. So that's
Yes.
what I'm working on.
Love it. Love it. I think that will be very successful. Again, it's so needed,
So needed.
right?
Yeah, it is just I don't want a bridal store that has a corner of prom and pageant. I want a prom
Yes.
and pageant
Mhm.
extravaganza. Um,
Yes.
the name of my store is called Rosaline September, and
Ooh.
there is a section on the inside where I'm keeping couture called the Empress Suite. Um,
Ooh, I
don't you love
love
it?
it.
Don't you want
I
to go?
do.
So, yes, I have all the
Right.
things, LLC, business plan, and now I'm just out there looking for funding and support. So,
Fantastic.
yeah, it's one of those things. Like I said, it's the dream is so much bigger than me, but it brings me so much joy just to dream it.
Mhm,
And once
mhm.
it's made a reality, I am going to dance like David danced. I promise. Ugh, so
Well, it will. If you're passionate about it, it will come to be at the right time.
at the right time, and
You
that's
know,
the thing.
all in God's timing.
I'm impatient, like that millennial in me that just wants it at my fingertips. I wrestle with that regularly. So just truly understanding and
Yeah.
trusting in God's time has been one of the realest lessons for me in the past year, like actually working on this behind the scenes. So
Mm.
very
You
excited.
mean like a
Just
lesson in patience? We all love those lessons in patience.
I'm like, God, like, like I'm glad like God doesn't have like a physical office because I feel like I'd be there every day, like, hey, hey, friend, you gave this to me, you showed it to me quite vividly, and I know in my spirit this is what I'm supposed to be doing, but friend, I need the
Well, you know, I don't know if this will encourage you or discourage you, but had to wait 22 years for Ms. World Traveler to come to be. It was one of those things that I knew something big was coming. And as each different thing, you know, I had my own TV show and okay, Lord, is this it? No. And then I had my own fashion line. Is this it? No. But when I finally got to the point where apparently I was ready, God thought I was ready. I thought I was ready 20 years ago and I wasn't. But when it kind of all the fog cleared and I could see, like you said, a very clear vision of what it was supposed to be, then I could look back over those 20 plus years and I could see all of the pieces of experience that I needed to get, skills, funding, technology had to be in the right place. My niece has joined me on this endeavor, and she had to be in a place where she was willing to move and to come on. So, all of these things had to fall into place before it happened. And so I feel a little bit like, you know, Abraham and Sarah that had to wait 25 years to, you know, to have a child that they were promised by God. Um, but then when it finally comes, there's just such great joy and energy and you know, just all good things that come with it. So for you, just I hope it's encouraging to you that it will come at the right time and then everything will fall into place.
It actually really is because the past few years in my career have been so turbulent, and I don't know if you know this about me, Carrie, but I once I stick my mind to something, I get it done. So
Mm,
I have just been climbing the ladder within my company. I'm a nationally certified apartment manager, and I've done everything. I've had buildings that are 500 units plus. I've had buildings that were 80 in every submarket in Western Washington, and
mm,
I'm well decorated in my field, and I've hit that plateau. I've hit the ceiling, and I'm like, I've broken it for young women in my industry, and
mm,
I'm very proud of where I am, but there's nowhere else for me to go, and I'm dancing with this dream, and it's hard sometimes because it is so big, and I honestly I believe in it with my whole heart, but I still don't know how it's going to happen. It's clear to me what it's supposed to be and who's supposed to be involved, but it's also there's a big gap between where I am and where it is, and I acknowledge that. But every time I think about, oh, well, I'm going to need a job to fund the dream. I can't just do this. Something crazy happens that's like, leave this job. Like, I had
mm,
somebody pull a knife on me. Like, that's how big
mm,
it
mm, mm.
gets. And
Wow.
it's just pulling me. So right now I'm planning on taking the entire month of March off.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, to just kind of make that final decision.
Mhm.
I don't know if you believe in astrology at all, but I'm a Libra, and sometimes decision making is hard. And that's my excuse anyway. So yeah, I'm taking the entire month of March off to just kind of really sit with myself and really
Right.
plan out what needs to be done in order to make this store happen and how can
Wonderful.
I move forward. So it's exciting, but
I
it's
love
scary.
it. I love it. It's you've identified what you want to do. Now it's just a matter of taking that step of faith to do it. Because if you are supposed to, the doors will open,
Hmm.
the funds will come, the people will come, everything will line up the way that it's supposed to. And this is, at least for me, for my whole life, I've always believed that when I'm not supposed to do something, I run into one obstacle after another. I mean, God is just closing the door. And then I know, got the tap on the shoulder that that's not for you because
Hmm.
there's just so many doors closed. But when they open, then it's the right time and things will come together. And you don't necessarily have to have everything all planned out because God doesn't let us see into the crystal ball. You
True.
know, we only get to see this far and we have that far to go. But it's that step of faith to do it. He gave you the vision. So he will make everything happen when it's supposed to happen.
That's a thing about faith, right? You know God is omniscient. So he's all seeing,
Yes.
he's all knowing, right? But you
Yeah.
still want to plan based off that little bitty keyhole that you see through as far as your scope and perspective of the world is considered.
Yeah,
You have this very
that's right.
small experience compared to where God's trying to take you. So I'm so excited for this journey. I can't even tell you every day closer. I'm just feeling lighter and lighter and lighter and more excited, and I
Mm.
can't wait to see how he uses me and how
Amen.
he puts me in position to not only go through transformation, but hopefully in sharing my story, help to transform others and encourage others to pursue that thing that
Absolutely.
seems so big. And I think that's a lot of
Mhm.
what you're doing with Miss World Traveler.
Totally agree. Totally agree with that. You're inspired by me going through it. I'm inspired by other women that have gone through it. We just continue to pass it on and women supporting women, right? Encouraging each other to that no matter what it is that holds you back, address it and move on, push through it. And you know, your passion will take you to the other side.
Amen. And I know that you are a woman of faith. I've loved this connection that we're having on that topic in
Thank you.
particular. But do you have a numeric goal for how you want to see your channel grow on YouTube or anything like that?
No,
You're just doing
no,
it to share it?
no. It's kind of out of my hands. I'm just going to do the work, push through, do the work hard. And then after that, we just let God take care of all the growth and, the revenue and all of that. He's provided the money so far. So we haven't had to worry about trying to make it revenue generating. We're not big enough yet. We don't have enough followers. So obviously, if anyone wants to follow us, it's Kerry, Ms. World Traveler on Instagram, Kerry. So yeah, please come on and join us and enjoy the adventures that we're on. But yeah, we will grow at the pace that we're supposed to grow. And I have total peace about that. I'm not anxious. I don't have to worry. It will be what it's supposed to be.
That's how I feel about the podcast. I haven't gone out of my way to oh my gosh, this person has 1 million followers, so let me get them on the podcast or anything like
Right.
that. I've been fortunate enough to be able to have conversations with people that I like. and
Right. Well, thank you for having me on.
and people who I'm truly interested in hearing their story. And I've quite enjoyed yours so far. So with that, I do want to know, Carrie, like what outside of Miss World Traveler do you have a dream? Like what's your dream? What do you want to be when you grow up?
Well, this is, I'm in my 60s, and this is sort of that dream of what I wanted to be when I grew up. I just didn't know it until a year ago. So that's been kind of exciting. And I feel like I'm a little bit like a late bloomer, even though I've done a lot of things and have enjoyed them and felt like, I've always done things that I'm passionate about. But as I mentioned, it was sort of this carrot dangling, this big thing that I didn't know what it was. And so now that I'm in that season, I don't know how long it will last. It doesn't matter. I will do it until God closes the door and says, it's time for somebody else to come along and carry the torch. But for now, I'm just going to be grateful for every day and enjoy it and work hard. I love to work hard and see where it goes.
That's lovely. So I ask everyone when they visit my show, what is something that you do to tap into your big goddess energy? Is it self
I'm
care?
sorry, I missed the question.
What is something that you do to tap into your big goddess energy?
Oh,
Is it self
ooh,
care? Is it meditation? Is it traveling? When do you feel
mm,
your most powerful?
mm. Well, spending time in the Word, that's one of the main things that sets the tone for the whole day. And I'm also a memorizer. So I memorize scripture, and that's a ministry that I have that I travel around to different churches and different groups, and I speak the word from memory. So spending time doing that is it like centers me for the day. But also, I think getting a lot of sleep. I really try to get plenty of sleep, and then I feel rested and I feel ready, and I am an energetic person when I'm rested. When I'm not rested, not so much. So those are just a couple of things.
I love that. And as somebody who will never like skip an opportunity to take a nap, I totally agree. I am on the
Love a
bandwagon.
good nap, right?
Oh my gosh. Me and my boyfriend, we did a nap date like early on. It was probably like our fourth date. And I was like,
What a great idea.
would you be open to going on a nap date? And he was like, a what? And
What is it?
I was like a nap date. Like we'll get together and we'll watch a movie and we'll take a nap. And he was like,
Uh-huh.
I've never done that, but okay. I was like, me neither, but it sounds amazing. So it worked. Um, so
I
is
love it.
once again, Miss Carrie, before we wrap today, would you please be kind enough to share your socials? Where can everybody find you?
Sure. As I mentioned, we're on Instagram at Kerry, Ms. World Traveler, just all one word. And Ms. is not MIZ, it's MS, Ms. World Traveler. We're also on Facebook, Ms. World Traveler. And I have a website. You can find me at kerrydamiano.com or at msworldtraveler.com. So we don't have TikTok yet. We just felt like, I wasn't on social media before. And so this is all new to me. And so getting on and really, starting our business, we're on YouTube as well. We felt like that was enough. Let's do what we do well. And then at some point, if we want to add that in, then that will be something additional. We'll see.
Well, I'm sure that if TikTok comes along, if they're following your other platforms, they'll be able to see how and when to follow you on TikTok. So do follow Carrie, Ms. World Traveler, on all
Thank you.
platforms available. and
Thank you.
oh,
Appreciate it.
you know what, Carrie, you said something and a question popped into my mind. You said that you're a memorizer. Do you
Yes.
think that's like a skill of people from your generation? Because I feel like the younger generation and actually memorizing things is kind of a stretch.
Well, you make a good point, Amber. Actually, the older you get, the harder it is because your memory isn't as good. So it's better to start young, but it's not really an age related thing. We're all commanded in scripture. It says, hide his word in your heart. There's also one in Joshua that says, meditate on his word day and night, and you can't do that unless you've memorized it. So we're commanded to do it. It's not really a choice. We're supposed to be doing it. And I find that when I do that, I have the whole rest of the day. It comes back to me. It's like a cow chewing its cud, right? You just chew on it, think about it. It pops up. The spirit brings it back to you because it's already in you. You don't have to have it in front of you, to look at it. So it's something anybody can do and should do.
That's awesome. Like, because I'm bad with scripture. Like, not bad in the sense that I can't call on it when I need it, because sometimes I shock myself when it needs
Uh-huh.
to come up, it does. And I can credit that to just growing up in church, and I have multiple uncles and aunts who are leaders, whether it's pastor, bishop, so forth. So it's interesting sometimes. It's almost like word vomit. It comes out, and I'll be like, where did that come from? Or I pray
Well,
for the girls backstage too, and sometimes even in that moment when I'm praying before the pageant starts, I'm like, okay, somebody needed that more than I needed to know what was actually coming out of my mouth.
right. Well, the difference is, Amber, is you don't do it on your own. The Spirit does it for you. You have the power of the Holy Spirit that embeds it, into your spirit. So you don't have, even if you don't think that you remember it, it's still there, and the Holy Spirit can bring it out. So that's actually what you've been talking about. You're saying sometimes you surprise yourself. Well, it's because it was there and the Spirit brought it out when you needed it. So that's part of the reason that we do it.
Tis a gift, tis a gift either way. So, ladies, if you get anything out of this, okay, you should have renewed faith in your faith out of this entire conversation, and the inspiration to just kind of be more confident, whether it is you're trying to start a business or start traveling more or just go on any sort of venture that you feel is bigger than you. It
Right.
seems out of this conversation alone that you should feel some encouragement. And if you don't, start it over, listen to it again, and you missed something.
Right. Right. It might be, doing a pageant.
Yes.
That
Yes.
that's stepping out, isn't it?
I mean, you got two
Yeah.
beautiful creative women right in front of you
There
who've
you go.
had their fair share of experiences in the pageant world.
Yeah.
Do you have any parting words of wisdom for us, Carrie?
Oh, um, well, we've talked a little bit about overcoming your fear, and there's a verse that I really love that is, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, of love, and of a sound mind. And so when you think of those things, power and love and a sound mind, the ability to reason, to think things out, we have everything that we need to go forward, to do it, to grab hold of our dreams.
Amen. And with that, I say thank you all for visiting the BGE Cloud. This has been the Plus in Pageantry. Thank you to my guest, Miss Carrie World Traveler.
Thank you.
Have a great day. Bye.
Thank you.